That broadcast. All right.
On it.
Hello, YouTube. Give me just one moment. Little last bit of bookkeeping. Oh, dude, really? Looks like you're trying to sign in from a new device. Please enter the 6-digit code we sent. Are you kidding me?
It's 155555.
It's 12345, which is amazing. That's the same combination on my luggage.
Mm.
Okay, what? What?
Okay, let's see.
Okay.
On the chat on YouTube.
Resend the code. I don't know what this thinks it's sending this code to.
Whatever email is associated with.
Yeah, it didn't go to my email, my friend.
Check your junk mail.
Yeah, your junk file, spam file, junk file, whatever you want to call it.
Let's see. We got one person watching. It's probably me.
It's not in there. It's not in there. Dang it.
Chris, what's our class saying? It's not a show if we don't have technical difficulties.
It isn't. It's not our show unless we're having technical difficulties. Here's the deal. So here's what I'm gonna do. Well, no, I can't do that now because I'm kind of committed.
So you're saying we're doing it live?
Live stream and Skype chat setup. Save. Yes. The problem is the old version of this has the link for the chat overlay widget. The new setup does not have the link for the chat overlay widget. So I'm just trying to get back the ability to show the chat in the lower right hand corner, which should not be rocket surgery. That said, I can't log back into Streamlab because it wants me to verify, but it's not sending me the verification code.
Do you have a certain email you sent it to? Do you have a different email account with it?
That's a fantastic question. I have no idea where it's, because it's saying it looks like you're trying to log in from a new device or location. Please enter the 6-digit code we sent to the email address associated with this account. I'm checking every email address, and I don't see. Let me check. Maybe it's the Retro Reload one.
Okay.
Maybe it's Retro Reload one.
Downloading the damn app. Sorry, I'm getting angry.
Well, fortunately, I marked the stream as mature, but just so that you know, we do have folks of all ages on the stream, so we might have to be a little bit more careful than normal.
Okay, let's try this again.
This is so hilarious. I keep getting a copyright claim.
Someone's copyrighting us already.
Every time I stream, I'm getting copyright claims apparently.
It's because I'm beautiful. That's why people want to copyright me. I know for a fact I have a Twitch account. Hell.
All right.
I do too.
I apologize, folks. What you are waiting here and watching on is that I am just attempting to. I'm just attempting to get the chat back so that we can talk with you guys, because otherwise I have to keep manually opening up the Twitch. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, right, if I have to for this stream, I can go into my Twitch dashboard on the phone and I can just look at the chat there. But I thought it'd be cooler if other people could follow the chat.
Ow.
So.
Are you reading that, or are you doing a robot voice and telling?
I'm doing a robot voice and telling. So, I tell you what, while I'm working on that, folks, welcome to Retro Reload. I am your host, Dash V, and with me today, I've actually got some, I won't say old friends, but I have some friends from the past. So, none of us want to admit that we're old, but friends from the past. Some of you might remember Retro Reload show. This is kind of Retro Reload, I guess reloaded. Technically. Yeah. So, Lizzie, for the folks that might be new that have been following me doing game streaming and everything, why don't you go ahead and give yourself an introduction to them? And then Jeremy, when she's done, feel free to do the same. Take as much time as you want.
Okay, well, hello everybody. My name is Elizabeth, but y'all can call me Lizzie. I am also known as Lizzie Hedgehog because I am a big fan of Sonic the Hedgehog since I was a little girl. I have a lot of Sonic stuff in my room. I can't show you my room right now because it looks like it exploded and I'm cleaning it. And then I have more Sonic stuff downstairs. I love to cosplay. I also mostly cosplay as Sonic. And I also like to make costumes inspired by Sonic. Like I have a really beautiful kimono that I made myself, but it's based off Sonic. So it's blue with like gold rings on it. I got the blue wig, the green contacts, the makeup. I go all out. I make my own Sonic shoes because Puma is a bitch and will not make those Sonic shoes from the movie. So I make my own shoes. I also, as you can tell, this big giant poster. Paramount gave it to me, so I got to keep the Sonic movie poster. I have the Sonic Build-A-Bear. I also have a bunch of stuff that Paramount gave away, like the paddle that Sonic had in the movie. Let me see. Other than Sonic, I do love other video games like retro games. I do have a PlayStation 4, Switch. I have a Retron 5, all that stuff. When my room's clean, I'll definitely show y'all my room. But till now, you just gotta deal with this behind me right now. Your turn, Jeremy.
So, my name's Jeremy. I was one of the original founders with Retro Reveal Podcast. How we met was on a website, VG Collect, which is you literally categorize all your retro gaming. Me and Chris are huge retro gamers. So that's how we originally met. Was it you, Chris, that originally threw the idea out for the show, or someone else?
Someone else actually. Somebody mentioned in the in one of the things that they kind of wanted to have a. The original idea was, hey, it'd be really cool if there was a stream online that kind of covered and maybe parroted some of the goings on in the chat in the forums, because VGCollect.com has some really good forums and it's just a really great community there of folks. We do a Secret Santa every year for folks that have been members for a while, and generally it's a good time had by all people. There's only one or two people that kind of come in there to troll people, and we all collectively kick that person's butt, so they can't do too much damage. But most of the people there, they have different threads, like hey, what's your recent pickups? There's this one guy that I think finds like 3 $1 Earthbound carts a year, and he has literally over 10,000 games. He has so many games.
Wow.
Yeah, he has.
Flea, right?
What's that?
Flea, right? You're talking about Flea?
The Flea, yeah. The Flea's collection is absolutely amazing.
He's a hero to all of us smaller retro gamers.
I'm pretty sure half the infrastructure required to run VG Collect is the Flea's fault because of all the content that he has to record that he has. So,
yeah, that's how me and Chris met. We're both find Retro Reload podcast. So I'm more of a I'm a Ace Combat fan. Your sandbox games like Fallout, those are what I like. My ultimate goal is to own all North American N64 games out of my N64. Let's see what else about me. I recently got engaged, and me and my fiance Brittany's engagement party was retro game themed. So she did a lot of arts and crafts for it. It was amazing what she did.
It was pretty cool. It was definitely pretty cool. I saw some of the pictures.
Yeah.
If you have any pictures,
I'll spot in my phone.
Do them. Drop them in the general in Discord.
Okay, I have to download Discord and make an account.
That's okay. It doesn't have to be today. Stop in sometimes and do that. We definitely want to see.
There's Pac-Man. There's everything. Goombas. So yeah, the deal was I got the engagement party and she'll get the wedding portion, which she's a huge Star Wars fan. No, I'm gonna give no spoilers for that, but yeah, it's gonna be a Star Wars kind of themed wedding.
I like how he's like, I'm not gonna give any spoilers, and then he gives like the biggest spoiler of all.
Yeah, and the best part is she says I'm not allowed to sell any of the collection because she loves she loves the fact that I have a massive collection, which is all put away. Because if you guys remember, I used to have it all displayed. I had to put it away, unfortunately.
So, Jeremy and Lizzie, I came up with an idea the other day during my gaming stream, because I've been streaming Asphalt 9 Legends on the Nintendo Switch quite a bit, at least once or twice a week for the last couple weeks. And one of the things that that kind of came out during that yesterday was the fact that I was talking about Retro Reload, and then I was kind of hinting to the fact that I was going to do a show today, and that I was going to have some friends from the past, and basically they're like, didn't know that you were into retro gaming, etc. So we talked a little bit about it, but I came up with an idea because now, like in the old house that I had out west, I had some games were kind of all over the place. I had games in storage, I had games upstairs, I had games downstairs. It was kind of scattered all over the place. But here, all the games are literally in the same room. And so I was thinking that I still haven't figured out exactly how we would conduct it or whatever. But basically, the idea was we pick a generation, right? Like we could pick like Genesis or whatever, or maybe we pick like a year, and I have to go retrieve something or take us to something in my collection that matches that request. So if somebody says like Sonic Spinball, I have to go find. We go through a hunt of my collection to find, because I haven't unpacked everything. So we basically go and we hunt to see if we could find the thing that the people
Brittany,
brought up.
I have this idea, Brittany, because we can do this.
So yeah, if you guys wanted
has
to,
a bigger collection than I do. So,
well, I think if it's Genesis, if it's Sonic related, I think Lizzie is just gonna crush all of us. It's gonna be like, do you have the yes? I didn't even say that yes.
Yeah, Sonic. Yes. What? Chris, can you find Ace Combat 04 for the PS2?
That one I know for sure I don't have. That one we'd have to see. That's what I was thinking actually. So if I do it myself, there's quite a bit I could find, but there's definitely going to be holes in the collection, like Ace Combat and things like that. Some of the Sonic spin-off materials and stuff like that, I definitely would have holes. But if it was like the three of us, right, or the four of us, like if we got Kyle to come in or something, if people were mentioning RPGs or something
on Nintendo.
Oh yeah, I think between the four of us, we could probably find just about any damn thing anybody could come up with from 1985 to present.
Or it's like, who has 4 NES controllers? I think all of us could pull that. I know I could.
Yeah.
Oh, we could even do a contest, right? Like the first one to come back with 4 NES controllers, right?
Well, the bad thing is, if you ever seen like the black totes like at Costco, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 6 of them stacked. And have another 2 totes stacked in front of it. So I'm like, you're gonna hear me falling, crashing. What are you doing, Jeremy? Moving shit.
Jeremy, are you okay?
Yeah. I want you to point the camera in that general direction so we get like the plumber's crack as he's like reaching into the box like.
So here it is.
I think I found it, and we're just like, oh.
Look at that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
If you're gonna make the leaning tower of Nintendo controllers fall over, we got to get that on camera,
And
man.
the worst part is, second from last box on the bottom. That's where the controllers are. I know where they are. Oh, so we got comments.
My new favorite Sonic plushie. Check out this sucker, man.
Yeah, if you don't believe Susie has all Sonic stuff, I've seen her room before.
That is awesome.
It's huge. Yep.
That thing is freaking huge. So Lizzie, why don't we go ahead and, so I know that there's some people, unfortunately right now, because coronavirus, right? Most places are saying stay at home, and I agree. Like, folks, some of you may know, some of you may not know, I'm an engineer by profession. So even though I never was good at math before, I've kind of had to get good at it over time. And so I've been watching the different reports from the World Health Organization and the CDC and stuff like that. And I did some of the math myself. So, and if you're in an area right now where you're like, I don't get it, there's not a big deal, there's not a lot of reported cases, I guess the only thing I can really say to you is still please listen to your local authorities and listen to your local governments, because by the time it is a big deal, it will be very, very difficult to stop at that point, because the way that this works is we're getting all the infections that we're becoming aware of are on a 2-week lag. So people that we're discovering are infected have actually been infecting other people before they had symptoms for up to 2 weeks. And everything that they've been touching, if they cough into their hands and they grab something from a store shelf and then they put it back, if they coughed coronavirus onto their hands and then touched that thing and put it back, coronavirus still lives on that thing they touched for like 3 days.
Yeah.
So I've done the math actually a week ago. So me and my family kind of quarantined early, and because my son, some of the folks from the streams know from yesterday, my son is high risk because of his immune system. I'm high risk because when I was a teenager, I had my lungs. I had a birth defect and my lungs literally exploded twice. and had to be, the doctors had to go in and literally find the pieces of my lungs and put them back together. So a lot of my lungs are scar tissue. So I don't, each breath doesn't give me as much air as like a regular person. And so I'm already a little bit impaired in that way. But then my lungs have a lot of scar tissue. So if I cough or I sneeze, my lungs are incredibly powerful, right? My lungs are incredibly powerful. So if I sneeze or if I cough, what happens is my lungs basically pound on my heart and my heart swells and I have a heart attack. So if I get like bronchitis or a cold or something like that, it can be pretty serious for me. It can actually, last 2 times I got bronchitis, I ended up in the hospital and had to have surgery.
Just as someone normal lungs, which I've had twice, and it's horrible.
Yeah,
but
so
I imagine with bad lungs.
Right. So my wife and my wife has asthma too, so we're kind of a motley crew all together. So we're just staying the hell away from everybody.
At least you're no longer up north in San Jose.
Yeah. So California definitely. Washington State actually is worse than California, which is interesting because Washington State has fewer. Here's the deal: Washington State has fewer people than California, but the problem is, up until recently, literally up until a day or two ago, they were taking it less seriously than California. So the state that's way smaller than California has way fewer people. They're way more spread out, but they just didn't care. They thought it wasn't a big deal. They have a higher reported infection rate already than the entire state of California, which is like 80% of the height of the United States of America, right? It's a huge state.
I live in Southern California, just between Orange County and LA. It's 16 million people, so.
Yeah. Hey, Just Callus. Just Callus is in the Twitch. Just Callus, I'm still working on getting the Twitch to show up in the new setup. I kind of screwed the pooch. It wouldn't be Retro Reload, right? Without a technical glitch. So Just Callus, the podcast is back, at least for today. I'm not going to promise that we're going to do this every single day, but Jeremy reached out to me the other day and said, things are pretty crappy right now in the world. And I said, yup. And he goes, we should get together and have a podcast. And I'm like, yup. So, folks.
That was literally 2 days ago when I said this.
I'm not saying it's the end of times, but we're back. Temporarily back. So, Lizzie, why don't you give us I got off on a tangent, but I started off wanting to talk about Sonic movie because folks have had, I know there's some folks that didn't yet get a chance to see it. I think the safest way for folks to see it now, unfortunately, it breaks my heart to say, you're going to have to wait for it on Blu-ray or Netflix or whatever. But Lizzie, do you think it's worth them catching when it comes out of theaters and hits like some kind of home format?
Yes. I have seen it 14 times.
Whoa!
That's what I said.
Yes, I actually got to see it a week early because a friend of mine on Facebook introduced me to a lady who works for Paramount. And she was looking for someone to help her promote the Sonic movie in our area. And I told her I was a big cosplayer, and so she invited me. And I dressed up as Sonic, and I got to see the movie 1 week early. And it just made me fall in love with Sonic all over again because Sonic's personality isn't the 14, 15-year-old little jackass that we see like on Sonic Sat AM or the immature fool himself Adventures of Sonic. It's like, I think he's like 12 or 13 in the movie, but you relate to him because when we were little kids and we were getting bullied in school and upset and we felt alone, we can relate to Sonic now because stuff that Sonic says in the movie, if you haven't seen it, he says a lot of things that we were thinking when we were kids, when we felt alone. So you start to fall in love and relate to Sonic a lot. And it was, I mean, I don't want to give away spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it, but I know Jim Carrey was amazing.
He was old school Jim Carrey too. So folks that if you liked, he was not Truman Show Jim Carrey. He was not Numbers Jim Carrey or that kind of thing. He was Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. He was the Mask Jim Carrey in this movie, which I really enjoyed and I really missed a lot.
Yes, I mean, it was hilarious because he actually made his own version of Dr. Robotnik. So he's not called Dr. Eggman. They go with the name Dr. Robotnik.
They went with the American version of it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then later on in the movie, his name does change to Dr. Eggman, but only because everything he has looks like an egg. So Sonic makes that joke and calls him Eggman later, but his name is Dr. Robotnik.
So there was controversy with the way he looked originally. Are you happy with his new look?
Yes, because I try my best to love it no matter what, but he looked like a freaking gremlin. I was like, I mean, his hands were like they made him white. So instead of wearing the cute gloves that, you know, cartoon characters wear, they made his paws with like big giant claws, and they were white and super skinny, skinnier than my wrists. And you're like, no, that's scary, because I can't imagine collecting those plushies. I would have to burn them, and my mom probably wouldn't let them be in my room. She'd be like, "Oh no. Those things from hell."
Yeah, when I saw the, I know what you mean, because even Jim Carrey, there's been some interviews afterwards, you know, and Jim Carrey, the director, the rest of the cast, I honestly feel bad for the person that did the initial concept design of Sonic, because I think I know what they were trying to get at. What they were trying to do is, I agree with you, Lizzie, 100%. First of all, like, Sonic looks the way that Sonic should look, ought to look, and there's nothing that warmed my heart more than when the movie was over. A couple little girls are walking out of the theater. I'm there with my wife and my son. And a couple little girls walk out and they go, "Did you see him? He looked just like in the game." And that to me warmed my heart, because it's like, sometimes having my childhood be considered vintage or retro, I don't feel like I'm that old. I don't feel like that was that long ago. And so, and generally speaking, usually things that are considered old or vintage, like, okay, people like us maybe appreciate them, or people 20 years older than us appreciate them. But generally they get poo-pooed by the younger generation of, like, you know, oh, that's old, it's garbage, we need something new, we need something fresh. So it was refreshing to me to hear a very young, up-and-coming generation look with love and endearment towards something that I really cared about and connected with when I was a kid. And so it's kind of like, it was almost like it bridged the old and new generations. Now, that said, and this is a testament to the movie and how well it was done, I can see where originally they were why they were trying to go with a more realistic looking Sonic, because every scene that he's in, you have to really commit to the movie, right? And you have to have that existing relationship with Sonic, because as soon as he appears in mixed with live action, he does kind of look like he's not supposed to be there. It does. It kind of looks like when you watch. The closest thing I can say to it is it's like when you watch Who Framed Roger Rabbit, right?
Yeah.
The first couple scenes, you're like, there's cartoons on top of live action. I know this isn't real. What the hell? And then a couple scenes in, you just give into it and you just enjoy yourself from there on out. This was kind of the same way, but I'm totally fine with that, because I do want to accept Sonic in the real world, right? And so it's a leap that I'm willing to make. You don't have to force me to make the leap. And I think it was better for them to trust us to make the leap, which it looks like everybody that watched the movie did, versus try to bridge the gap. Because when they tried to do that, just what they came up with, it blended perfectly with the live action, but it just looked very jarring, very, very not what we expected to see, right?
Well, if you remember the first trailer, that's what ticked off all the fans. He looked like a gremlin, super tall, super skinny. The music in the trailer was, that Dangerous Minds, and when I hear that music from Dangerous Minds, I think of that one movie with the Michelle Pfeiffer lady, which was called the movie's called Dangerous Minds, but the name of the song was Gangster Paradise.
Right.
That doesn't fall under Sonic, and you can't tell me, oh, but it was in the 90s. No, shut the. You guys didn't do your research.
I no, especially because the family, right? Like you want. I mean, I'm not trying to criticize anybody's taste in music and everything, but like I think what they mistook rather. I think that they mistook Sonic having an attitude with Sonic being a bully or Sonic being a jerk. And you know, you can have a Sonic that's naive and that has attitude, but it doesn't mean that you make him you make him a jerk, right? Like Sonic is not a gangsta. He's not trying to be a gangsta. He was never trying to be a gangsta, right? So that song didn't really,
their research
didn't really match. Yeah, I'm not saying that the song is a bad song. Just I'm with you that it wasn't.
I loved it in the movie, but it's not for Sonic.
It's not how you pitch Sonic. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, for me, it's kind of an insult. Like, I love Sonic, and I've tolerated that jerky attitude from Adventure Sonic the Hedgehog, Sat AM, and some video games. You go, I still love you, because he's not a jerk. It's his. Well, I'm better than you, or I know I'm handsome. You know that kind of attitude.
Oh yeah.
So you love him no matter what. I know, like, the one thing in the Sonic movie I noticed, and it didn't really matter, but, like, for example, I have cards here from one of my movie theaters called Star Cinema Grill at a Sonic Boom drink. Look very closely at the eyes. It's two eyes, but if you look in the middle, they kind of add like a little beigey thing there.
Yeah.
So it looks like in the video games and the cartoon.
Yeah.
But he still has two eyes.
Yep.
So they really took the time to do.
They gave the bridge of the nose and everything going up between the eyes. Yeah. Yeah, and the actor really actually, the voice actor was talking too about the voice actor was talking about how the redesign, one of the things that he loved about it is that they did so much with separation of the eyes and things like that, and they made changes to the mouth structure and the eyebrows and everything. And he said that one of the things that kind of didn't land with him on the original Sonic design was that there wasn't a lot of facial movement. And so what that did is it really limited the voice actor, because there was a lot of when he's voice acting in the booth, he's making all these gestures and all these faces and everything. And they figured, hey, as long as we got to go back and do the redesigns and everything, let's actually take some of the video that we have of you in the booth as you're making the faces and everything. And that's actually really, that's good material for the new animators to use. And so there's faces and mannerisms that the voice actor did that made it into Sonic as the character that we saw. And for the voice actor, he just really enjoyed that because he's like, hey, that whole eyebrow thing, I did that in the booth, and they were able to make the character do that the way that I did it with my mannerism. The other thing that was neat is there's a couple of callbacks, and I don't want to spoil it, but people can watch the movie, and then when you watch the movie, go look up some of the interviews with the voice actor, the interviews with Jim Carrey. Some of the most fun. I had just as much fun watching the interviews as I did actually watching the movie. But one of the things that the voice actor did that I thought was kind of clever is he points out a couple clips in the movie where he's actually paying homage to previous Jim Carrey movies. Mm-hmm. So he'll be like ranting and raving and doing something, and the whole flow of his rant and rave and the whole pattern of it is like you could overlay it right on top of like Dumb and Dumber. Mm-hmm. And it's different words, but he's doing the same mannerisms, the same everything. So he's kind of parodying Jim Carrey in a movie that Jim Carrey, his idol, also happens to be in. So it's just really, you could tell they had fun with it. And the movie, right? Like you could tell in the interviews that they had fun making the movie, and that translates into the movie itself being fun. Right, it's not A Beautiful Mind. It's not I Am Legend. It's not it's not trying to be anything big and amazing. It's just trying to be a buddy cop movie with a hedgehog as one of the buddies. So it's like Turner and Hooch with Sonic, basically, right? And but they pulled it off because the fun that they had making it totally makes it into the film. And I love, like you said, the tactic that they took with Sonic is not that he's like this. I was worried that they were going to do it where he's like this like adult, whatever, that's just has an attitude. Mm-hmm. What they did is they made him like a plucky, perky, like a kid. He's like a 12-year-old on pixie sticks, right? Like he's just all over the place. And some of the stuff is just normal, something, a kid his age. And then other stuff was just, just the naiveness of a kid that age, just not having certain things that you just don't know, certain parts of the world that you just haven't experienced before. So I think it was a masterful stroke because he's able to have a bit of an attitude, but it's born out of this isolation. It's born out of this whole like, I want to be part of this world, but I'm not supposed to be part of this world kind of thing. Why can't I be part of this world? What's so bad about being part of this world kind of thing? So I think they really did I needed a laugh that day. I needed to really feel good because it was a rough day, and I braved. At the time, this was 2 weeks ago. A different world 2 weeks ago. There wasn't a lot of reported cases, and we didn't know how big this corona thing was. But I braved all of that. I went to the theater and I saw it. But now, my advice would to you folks would be, folks have told you to stay home. Listen to their advice, even if the places are still open. I would stay home, and I would catch it on Blu-ray or on Netflix or.
Every time pre-ordered. All of them.
As soon as we left, I told Lisa, I go, the second this hits Blu-ray, I'm getting it. I'm definitely getting this on 4K Blu-ray. So I had a lot of fun, and even my wife admitted. I dragged my wife to it. Honestly, she's like, I don't know, it's gonna be horrible. Like I don't know that I want to see them pillage my childhood like that. She came back and she goes, you know what? It was a good flick. It wasn't a fantastic flick. I'm not gonna say it's the best movie ever made, but it was a good flick for family, and it was certainly a good Sonic flick. It was a lot better than one would have expected a Sonic flick to maybe be that was Hollywoodified. There's a lot of respect to the source material.
Well, when you pre-order it, when you get it from Best Buy because they have this steel box set. I'm just waiting to see what other places are going to have a special edition, but I already pre-ordered off Amazon and Best Buy.
So folks, you heard about it. The Best Buy one's got the Steelbook edition. I definitely will be grabbing that.
What's Amazon offering?
I was definitely going to say this.
What was that, Jeremy?
Oh,
so what's Amazon offering for their pre-order bonus?
I don't know, but the thing is, I pre-ordered the soundtrack and it price dropped almost $7, so I got a good deal on it. Very nice. The soundtrack that they released. But talking about movies, this is not disrespect to anyone out there who's a DC fan, because I love DC too. I love Harley Quinn, I love Batman, I love Joker, all awesome people. Whose stupid idea was it to compare Birds of Prey to Sonic the Hedgehog? You cannot
Wait, what? Somebody did that?
It was all over the internet. The fans of Birds of Prey were angry because the Birds of Prey movie bombed. That's why they had to go back and rename it Harley Quinn Birds of Prey, thinking if they saw her name, then people would watch it. But people were telling others, don't go watch the Sonic movie. And people were comparing Birds of Prey to Sonic. I go, you cannot compare a rated R movie to a rated PG movie meant for kids. You can't do that. But that's what people were doing online. And the fans were just going crazy and trying to say all these bad things and trying anything to get people to watch the movie. And I'm like, forget you. I saw it 14 times. So.
Did any of you see, that'd be like trying to compare Joker to Sonic, the movie.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I saw Joker, so here's the crazy thing, right? I saw the new movie, the Joker and Phoenix version of it. I saw Joker on an airplane flight back from San Jose 3 weeks ago. I was coming back home from work. And, first of all, I can't believe they showed that on an airplane, because all I was thinking was I was sitting in the back and there was nobody behind me because I was literally in the very back of the plane, and there was there's no kids or anything sitting by me, but there was a couple scenes where I was like, I am so glad there's no kids behind. This is wow. It was, now I want to be clear, it was a good movie, but it was definitely R. So lots of blood, lots of gore, all that kind of stuff, and it not lots as in a slasher flick, and that's what makes it so shocking, right? Because at first you're going through the movie and you're like, okay, deep content matter, it's talking about depression and it's talking about mental illness and that kind of stuff. I guess I can see why that's rated R, right? And then there's just really just 2 or 3 scenes that just go completely off the rails, and you're like, dude, I was not prepared for that. And so I think if they were going for shock value, they definitely got it. But I'm like, how does this get on a plane? So I'm thinking knowing that DC's going darker with some of these movies that they're doing, and that they're not afraid to push that R envelope versus, what Marvel's trying to do with, other than things like Deadpool, which they're making pretty clear this is for a more adult audience. It was kind of shocking to see that, and it would be totally out of place for somebody to be comparing that kind of movie to a Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't even see where they would compare. It'd be more appropriate to do a comparison between Sonic the Hedgehog and the Michael Bay Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they're both childhood movies, but like I said, it was just dumb to read it online, and like I had to like block a few people on my Twitter account, say, okay, this is the dumbest thing I've ever read.
Yeah.
And a lot of people agree. They go, I go, you can't. And I remember when I went to go see Sonic, one of the 14 times that I saw it, I remember going to the front and getting ready to go to my seat area, and a lady was coming out of Birds of Prey with her little like 3-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
And you go, man, you people are gonna mess up your kids. You can't force your kids to see this. Go watch the Sonic movie.
Right, go watch the Sonic movie with you. That's what I really, and that's what I really kind of enjoyed about that movie, is because there's been plenty of movies. By the way, Just Callus made a comment in the Twitch that people can't see because I still don't have the chat showing up, but I want to share it. Just Callus in the Twitch chat was saying that Jim Carrey is the best, and I have to agree with that. Like, I missed seeing Jim Carrey, and what was really amazing was he did a couple movies recently. By recently, I mean like within the last, I think, 10, 15 years, that broke him. That literally like broke him as a person, right? Like he was having an issue pulling back from when he did Man on the Moon, and he just got so deep into the character. He literally hollowed himself out to become the character, Andy Kaufman. And then when he tried to come out of that, he came to this realization of like, wait a minute, like who am I really? Like there's all these things that I think that I am, and then in the end I'm just this collection of ideas. I'm just this pile of information that can be kind of taken, packed up, and pushed over here and replaced with other information. And so that revelation to him, which I think is very actually deep and insightful, it just kind of broke him, because he's just like, how do you go back to that? Should I go back to that? Right? Like, is anything real? And so it took him a while to kind of unravel and untangle all those feelings and stuff. And so, but he's been doing a lot of stuff actually, not related to comedy, not related to acting. He's gotten into painting and things like that. He's been doing a lot of things kind of offline, but it was good to see him get back on the horse of acting again. He was asked, would you rather do movies like Man on the Moon and Truman Show and things like that, or would you rather do movies like, Sonic and movies like Ace Ventura? And he said, you give me an opportunity to have fun and just go crazy. You're going to pay me to just have fun and go crazy? Like, dude, I'll take that money. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but it was kind of cool to see that, like, when he does it, it's not just a job for him. It's just he enjoys acting, and he enjoys bringing smiles on other people's faces. So it's really cool to see him. This wasn't the first child-friendly thing that he did, right? He did The Grinch, and he did some other things. But it was good to see him in something family-friendly. And it was good to see that this movie, sometimes a movie will pitch itself as family friendly, and then you go and you see it and you're like, oh, I don't know. Like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles kind of flirts with that. Like it's pretty close. It's pretty family friendly, but then every now and then they'll just put something in that you're like, that's kind of edgy, bordering inappropriate for a family movie, right? If I'm going to bring little kids to it. None of that was in Sonic. They were very respectful of the audience, and it's not like I like that they didn't make a crappy movie to try to make it family friendly. They made a decent, lighthearted movie, but they didn't compromise the family friendly part of it.
Yeah.
For audience.
Yeah, and there were, and there's certain. Well, I mean, I'm not gonna give away spoil, but I mean, people listening to the trailers, so like the argument that Jim Carrey had with the army guy is hilarious. Because you go, yeah, that was perfect. That definitely. I mean, when you watch it in the movie, it's funnier. I remember the first time I saw it a week early.
Yeah.
It was full in the theater because Paramount actually wanted they actually give away tickets for people to watch it early, but you weren't allowed to record, blah blah blah.
Right.
But everybody was laughing, and like the people next to me would go, "My gosh, such an ass!" But the ass you fell in love with.
Right.
Jim Carrey.
Absolutely.
So, and then I think the only scene that you're kind of like, when Jim Carrey goes, "My babies, look what came out of my egg sack."
Right.
And
yeah.
I looked at my dad, and he looks at me and goes, "Look what came out of my eggs." Points to me.
And you're like, "Oh, Dad, come on."
He got it. He got the joke.
Yeah.
The comparison was hilarious.
So, folks, short version, right? Like, Jeremy, I don't think you've seen the movie, right? Which is totally okay. But Lizzie, right? Thumbs up or thumbs down for Sonic the movie?
Yay, thumbs up.
Oh yeah, absolutely, big thumbs up. So,
yes.
Jeremy, my friend.
Yes.
Unfortunately,
there's no Ace Combat movies out yet, guys.
There are no Ace Combat movies. When there are Ace Combat movies, though, we're gonna have to call Kevin and Connolly to see if they need an AWACS band dog.
Oh, I love you for knowing that still.
So Jeremy, my friend, what's been going on with you since we caught up last? So you mentioned, right, you're engaged, right? Yeah.
Freddie has been on an episode before. Long time ago when I first met her. Only once, but she's been on it.
What have you been gaming on? What have you been doing with games?
I was saying, honestly, just focus. I'm taking a break from school right now, but school took all my time. On the weekends, I spent time with her. So
gotcha.
Really, anything.
Do you mind me mentioning recent injuries?
No, I mean I do mind because it's
okay.
An ongoing issue. I'll tell you after the show why.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So, folks, one of the other things that I want to talk about is today's topic, right? Xbox Series X specifications have been released. I don't know if you two saw these.
I didn't see the specs yet.
It is amazing. They're talking. I'm not going to talk about teraflops and all that other stuff because I think those specs are useless. But I think the specs that are really valuable here is they're targeting 4K, 60 frames per second sustained, right? Not like up to. They're saying they want the games to be 4K, 60 frames per second sustained, and up to 120 frames per second. So you're going to get 60 frames, 4K, and then they want to be able to upscale or have games that are targeting resolutions of up to
how much space,
up to 8K and up to 120. So
did they say how much space on a hard drive? Or not yet?
They did, and here's the thing that really kind of doesn't impress me. So I have an Xbox One X, right, which is not going to be as powerful. Like the Xbox Series X is going to crush the Xbox One X. But here's the problem that I see. I have I think I have over 200 games for the Xbox One X. Yeah. So so with over 200 games, now a lot of those are small indie games, right? A lot of them are small retro games. They're like the Mega Man collection and things like that, or they're games like Celeste, right, or something like that, or Thimbleweed Park, right? Games that aren't huge. But then I've also got games that are just absolutely massive. I've got Gears of War 5. I've got Quantum Break. These games are just huge. And there's no way in hell that a 1 terabyte hard drive, which is what they're talking about launching with, like you're going to be able to fit like one game depending on what the game is.
Give you some context on that. I have a 4 terabyte external hard drive on my PS4. I have maybe 40 games I keep active updates.
Yeah.
That's more than half the kill. So imagine Dash, who has 200 plus games.
Oh yeah.
1 terabyte's not gonna hold that.
And I have all of them actually downloaded. And the way that I have them downloaded is I bought an 8 terabyte external USB 3.0 drive and I plugged it in. Right.
Send me a link for that bad boy, by the way.
I will do so. I will definitely do so. So the problem is. I see what they're trying to do. Like they're super hyped that
so you have how many games again? 8 terabytes.
Somewhere around 200 games ish, give or take.
Halfway.
I tell you what. I'm going to. Hopefully, folks, this hopefully shouldn't break anything.
Because I'm curious as someone who cares about. Because I'm like him. I buy a lot of games. I need the room.
Yeah, I'm going to. El Popocho wants to know, did you know there was an original Sonic movie? OVA.
Yeah.
So Lizzie knew. Lizzie, you want to talk about that what I'm doing right now is I'm looking at the answer to Jeremy's question. I'm actually booting up my Xbox One right now to see how many games I have and how much space they take. In the meantime, Lizzie, what's this other movie that El Popocho is talking about? Sonic OVA.
Well, there was a Sonic OVA where basically It's when we meet Metal Sonic.
Mm.
Sonic is on vacation. Tails is like wanting him to join him, and basically, I mean, it's really weird because it was made in Japan, so it's not like kind of like the live action Sonic movie we just saw. But basically, all the design, it just kind of, I don't know, like how the best way to describe it. You get introduced to Knuckles, you meet Metal Sonic, but the style and everything in the movie seems to be definitely an anime Sonic CD style. Sonic has a human girlfriend. Um, I forgot her name, but it's like a cat girl.
Her name's not
Or it's a
important. The girlfriend should have been Miss Lizzie Hedgehog.
yeah, there you go. She was a brunette though, so it wasn't my favorite.
About what year? Was it like early 90s, late 90s?
Yeah. Yeah, it was like in the early 90s. Okay. And Robotnik kidnaps the girl, and he's basically wanting to wipe out the planet in one scene, and she doesn't understand the new dress he got her is a wedding dress, and he's telling her that when the world is wiped out, they're going to be repopulating the world. Those two.
Does that work by buying a wedding dress and repopulating the world, asking for a friend?
Yes, that's what they're saying. And then and apparently Metal Sonic has a link to Sonic, so they can both see what the other sees. They can see it and they can feel it. Like there's a scene where Metal Sonic comes out from the bottom of Dr. Eggman's you know his little ship thingy, and he sees up the girl's dress.
Ooh.
And meanwhile, Sonic is seen in his head, and I don't know if he's aroused or if he's laughing. You can't tell because he's kind of like grinning, spinning. His quills come out. He's acting all weird.
Okay, interesting.
So yeah, basically those two share a connection. They do fight, but it's a strange movie. I mean, I liked it. I like the Japanese version. I did not like the dub version. I don't know what they were thinking, but if there's any way, whoever has the movie right now, if y'all can redub it, that would be wonderful because the voice acting is pretty bad. Watch it in Japanese.
Gotcha. So I looked it up, Jeremy. I have 232 games.
Dang. Dude.
And on my 8 terabyte drive, this takes up about I think it was 35% of it. So I do have 5 terabyte remaining. And so, I could see, I could see there being, the problem is, right, it depends on the games that you're going to play. If you're going to play a bunch of the smaller games, like if you're more into the retro games, like Pinball Arcade, Zen Pinball, FX, the Mega Man collections, things like that, these games aren't going to eat up your hard drive. The games that are going to destroy you are going to be Gears of War 4, Gears of War 5, Forza, Forza Horizons. Things like that are really going to just kind of, Quantum Break especially, just the video is like 200 gig of the game, right? Like it's insane. So I definitely feel like a 1 terabyte drive is too small, but it looks like all their focus was on. What was that?
Especially because we're in 2020, and I know they can produce.
Yeah, I think what happened was they're touting, if you look at all the videos and stuff right now that they're using to promote it, and I know these won't be the only promotional videos between now and Christmas, but they're really literally one of their videos is like you're watching the loading screen. They have Xbox One X on a game, and they have the Xbox Series X, same game, right? So one of them is Xbox Series X enhanced, the other one is just Xbox One X enhanced. Same game, and the loading time on the Series X one is like 45 seconds or whatever, and then they show the person playing the game and doing stuff and everything, and then the other is still loading. It takes like a good 2-3 minutes to load. Now, while that's kind of impressive, I don't know that it's like so impressive that I don't want to be able to me, it's still a big pain, and it's still a problem that when I go to play games, there's these giant updates that need to install. So one of the things that I'll do is I'll actually fire up the Xbox One X, and I'll fire up the PlayStation 4 the day before I think I want to play some games. Like every now and then, if I haven't played in a while, I'll just go and turn them on just to make sure that they update, so that if I decide to play a game that weekend or something, it's already gone through the 4 hours of downloads and all that other stuff. So I can't. I get where some people you're saying like, oh well, Dash, like you don't need to have all 232 games installed on your hard drive. Well, yeah, but like if I decide I want to play Mega Man Legends, and even though it's not a huge game, right? It's still like 6 gig. Which explain to me why like 5 NES games are 6 gig to download. Like that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Yeah, it's ridiculous. So, but then it
also I mean half a megabyte at the time.
Right. It also doesn't make sense that I've got broadband, right? Like super high speed broadband, but for some reason the Xbox servers or the PlayStation servers, they always seem to download super slow. I think they're doing like bandwidth throttling. And so it's not like I'm pulling it down as fast as I could pull it down. It's like, oh, okay, this will be done downloading in an hour. Well, that's fabulous. Like that's the hour I wanted to spend playing Mega Man Legends, asshole. And so I just get up and walk away. So I want them on the hard drive.
What I do for my PS4, at least once a month, I'll literally go to each game and just download, see if I have any updates for it. And people are like saying things like, Jeremy, you don't play those games often. You don't even play now. It's like, yeah, but when I do want to go play, I don't want to sit there for 3 hours.
Right. Because do you get this way, Lizzie or Jeremy? Like, yeah. I get into moods, right, where I used to be, when I was younger, okay, I only have small number of games, so I play them and I finish them, and it doesn't even matter if it's a crappy game. This is the only game I have till next Christmas, right? So I'm going to play it and enjoy it. Now in my older, I'm like, you know what? Like, I don't really care if I finish this game. I kind of need something with a story right now. Other times I'll be like, I don't even care if I, get far in the game. I just kind of need something repetitive right now, so I'm going to pick this other game that's just repetitive, comforting, and boring. But are you guys like that?
Yes, because like Sonic Spinball is that game that really requires focus. I mean, it's hard, and I'll play it, and like sometimes I'll be like, I just need something. You just need a break. So you focus on the game, but then you're like, because it's got 4 levels, but they're hard. It's a pinball game.
Yeah.
But like the second level, I go, okay, yeah, I'm done, and you kind of like put the control down for a second. You're like, do I want to finish it or not?
Right.
You're like, nah.
What about you, Jeremy?
I'm saying because I'm a huge sports fan. If you guys don't know, well, I know you guys are fans, but when certain seasons are in baseball, okay, I'll go play baseball for a week. When basketball season starts, okay, I'll play the basketball game for a week. But I don't buy it every year. I have the old editions, so I can always go back and play my week's worth of game.
Yeah.
I'll start over. So yeah. Or let's say I want to play a complicated game. I'll play if I want to play something. I got an hour to kill. Let's do something simple. Go play GTA.
Yeah.
Just go kill somebody real quick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and that's a good release. I know sometimes I'll be like, Sonic, I'm mad at you right now. I'm gonna go play Mario, Mario game, or Mega Man game, or whatever is my collection. Like I had like my a friend of mine got me for Christmas because it was Black Friday. He found the Legend of Zelda, the the expensive pretty one that had like the book and everything.
Oh yeah.
So I haven't even played it yet. I mean, I put it in, but then I was like, I took it out and I played Super Smash Brothers instead.
Yeah.
But I like playing that one. But it's kind of funny to play it because for those of you who haven't played Super Smash Brothers Ultimate yet, I find this funny. Sonic and Link are in hell when you play the game. When you're like unlocking the characters.
Which games? Which game?
Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. Remember?
Okay. The stage that they're at is hell. You're saying?
Yeah. Cause first you're basically on Earth. I guess you could say Earth.
Right.
And then you slowly start to go to heaven, or you go to hell, depending on what path you're taking. But I was trying to find Sonic, and then you're like beating everything on Earth, and then you start to go towards hell, and that's where Link is. You go, well, dang it, Link! I wasn't expecting you to be in hell.
I know, right?
And then you would turn the corner and you defeat a few bad guys, and you find Sonic in hell. You go, dang, what did you do?
It's because he's on a Nintendo platform, so there's no way Nintendo was gonna have Sonic be in heaven, right?
Yeah, Mario was in heaven. You're like,
That's
oh, you
exactly right.
bastards.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, look, go to heaven and you'll find Mario. Go to hell if you want to find Sonic.
That was hilarious. So
So
yeah, I mean, I have that. Sometimes I'll play the story mode, like where like I'll play with my me character, and that way I can beat up every character.
yeah.
And if you beat it, you do your thing. So I'll do that. So because a lot of times I'll get in moods, and I don't want to put all my love and attention in like Sonic 3 and Knuckles, because that's like a good 2.5 to 3 hour game,
So
and people don't believe me,
El
but it
Popocho
is.
says literally, I get any game, I'll finish the history in 3 days or more, but I never more than a week. So, and then Kala says he's just glad he got himself a PS4 with like 10 games during Black Friday because that kept him entertained for the entire year.
Yeah, and I
So
mean, yeah, 'cause I mean, it's a lot. I do have a niece and two nephews, so they always want me to come over to play Mario Party. But they're very competitive because my eldest nephew, Colt,
yeah,
he always has to play.
I
He
love his
has
name, by
his
the way.
character. Isn't it? He was named after the football team.
Oh, then I'm out.
he,
I was like,
I told him that. I told him
Ash
you
knows why I like
realize
that
you
name.
were.
yeah.
I told him you realize you were named probably after a football team. Well, he goes, no, and he looks at his dad, and his dad's like. And then the youngest is Kason, and then the girl is Callie, but her nickname is, well, it's Callie, but she likes to be named CK1
Yeah, Jeremy would have also
after the
liked if
original.
you had any family members named Remington.
Oh no, but I mean they're a lot of fun, but their parents are very strict on the games, and they
Yeah,
only let them play Mario Party or Mario Kart 8. And I've asked, well, can I bring some of my Sonic games? And my sister knows me enough to know all my games are going to be Sonic, Mega Man, Mario. It's not going to
yeah.
be anything bad.
So
I
I think
do
Mario
have the
Party and Mario Kart causes the most fights in the household.
it does, especially with
right.
my nephew, because he'll get mad and they'll be like, no, and you're like,
And
shoot.
Mario Party can lead to some violent fights too, right? Because it's not like
Yeah.
you're sitting there just with the controller. Like Mario Party, it's like they're having you do all these gestures, so like you're pumped, you're filled with adrenaline and energy, right? And then
Mhm.
somebody, well, I mean, yeah, that's how people end up in the newspapers, I think.
And
But
if you got the retro with the wired cables, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Flip them.
because I know I wanted to go to my niece and nephew's house. I wanted to bring Mario and Sonic at the Tokyo Olympics to
yeah,
play on the Switch, but my sister and her husband are so stubborn, they won't let me. I mean, I can bring it, but they won't let it be played on their Switch.
yep.
Like,
I
they keep telling me, because they have the parental code, the code on it, and they won't give it to me to unlock it. They go, "Oh, we don't know what it is." I go, "How the hell do you not know what your own stupid Switch code is?
Right.
You know
my
I'm
friend says he'll run any little kid on Mario Kart. He'll take him.
Yes, because my niece and
Second.
nephew, they know me enough to know what I'm playing.
Yeah.
My sister suspects I might put Mortal Kombat or something on there. I go, I'm not gonna let your kids play Mortal Kombat
I
or
will.
anything. I know better.
That
I
also.
have. You know
That
what?
one.
I went from being totally shocked and every. I mean, because the Mortal Kombat, like I think some folks are thinking like, oh, like Mortal Kombat from back in the Genesis days, like boo hoo hoo. Like, dude, no. Now, guys, this is the Mortal Kombat that we're on now, right? Cassie
Hmm.
Cage. We went from a Mortal Kombat where Johnny Cage does the split, punches the person in the balls, and they just hold him and go, oh, right? We went from
Hmm.
that to Cassie Cage will do a split, uppercut the person in the balls, you freeze frame the fight, you zoom in to the crotch section of the character, you get an x-ray of the crotch, and you literally see the testicles explode on the screen.
Yeah, my friend just said he'll show them all
That's
the fatalities.
that's
The new
modern
ones.
day Mortal Kombat. I apologize for some of the younger folks on the stream. But
I'm
yeah,
sorry
I
you're
mean
traumatized at that
it's
description.
it's super graphic is my point,
Hmm.
and so I do think that the parents have some. I do think it is legitimate for parents to be concerned about that. I'm with
If
you,
you
Lizzie.
think about
Like, why would
in
they
the
think that you
90s,
would do that? Why do they think that you would go to their house and put Mortal Kombat on their?
Yeah, well, I don't know, because I mean, I think, well, here's the thing, and this is the truth, and it kind of pisses me off just enough to where even my sister, I mean not my sister, but my parents are like, don't do that to your sister. They don't like Sonic.
Right.
They want Mario. And
right.
the only Sonic game they have, Callie fell in love with Sonic Dash on the mobile phone.
Yeah.
And she has an iPad. So she basically begged her parents to let her have Sonic Dash on there. And that's the only Sonic game they have. They won't let their kids play any Sonic games. And they go, why? She's like, well, they're kind of stupid. And I go, fuck you. Tell me that.
There's our F-bomb for today. So, yeah.
Tell me that. Oh, Sonic stuff. No. I mean,
they're different. They're definitely
going to be G-rated.
They're definitely different games, right? I mean, they're the same in that they're platformers, but that's where the similarities end, right? Like Mario is more about, and actually, once I realized this about Mario, actually a lot of my enjoyment of Mario just kind of like fell away. Mario is just really like collecting things, right? It's like a collection game. Go around, get stars, and get to the end. You know, go through an obstacle course before the time runs out, type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sonic there's definitely it ran the risk of becoming like a Mario game, because there were many. We talked with Tom before. You remember that, Lizzie, right? And we talked to Tom,
yeah, of course.
And we talked to Craig Stitt, and he was talking about, you know, some of the, when Sega was looking for a mascot, and, you know, they tried to do different games like Kid Chameleon and stuff like that, and the challenge was like, how do you compete with Mario but improve on the formula? Because quite honestly, if you look at Super Mario Brothers all the way up to New Super Mario Brothers, and I'm not talking offshoots like Mario Party and things like that, but I'm talking about Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 3. I think they really peaked with Super Mario Brothers 3. I think Super Mario World is an okay game, but in terms of like really, when they really reinvented themselves was Super Mario 3, I think. And Super Mario World was trying to capture that, but I don't feel like it did it quite as well. The flying mechanics I felt weren't as strong and weren't as easily controllable as in Mario 3 and things like that. And so from that point forward, everything else is just like, put it through the dishwasher, take it out. Hey, look, it's new and shiny now. Like, they all just feel the same. And literally, if you look at New Super Mario Brothers, how the hell many times can you release the same game and still call it new, right? Like, it's not. There was New Super Mario Brothers for the Wii, yeah, and then there was New Super Mario Brothers Wii U, and now there's.
When I will start trying to buy for those, I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah. Yeah, so there's New Super Mario Brothers Wii, and then they remade that for the Wii U, same game, and then they remade that for the Switch. It's like, Nintendo, you literally haven't come up with a new Mario game. And so Sonic, meanwhile, they've had some missteps, right? And we've talked about that before too. But at least they're trying. Like what does a Sonic game in 3D look like? How do you still get the sense of speed and that sense of platforming?
New Sonic 3D new.
Yeah, they're not going to call it New Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah,
on the Switch.
And then I feel like they nailed it with Sonic. What was the new one? Lizzie, help me out here. The new Sonic 2D game. Christian Whitehead did
Sonic
it.
Mania.
Sonic Mania. I thought that knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, and then they made Sonic Mania Plus, where they added the characters that we haven't seen for years.
Yeah. So
that was perfect.
Yeah. So, and they added some new mechanics into the game and stuff like that too. So I really have a lot of respect for Sega, you know, trying some different things. And I know that Nintendo did some of that too with like Mario 64 and things like that. But honestly, I don't.
Mario 64.
Oh man.
It doesn't hit me in the feels the same way it does you, and that's okay.
I question our friendship when you say stuff like that. It's a really hurtful word.
I'm gonna name my next child Colt. Are we good now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
But speaking of, for the Sonic movie, for those of y'all who haven't seen it yet, spoiler alert, Sonic makes a comment in the movie that you know is thrown at Mario. There's a scene where Sonic says, "I hate mushrooms."
Oh God, that's awesome.
which is pretty obvious that he's talking
Yeah.
about Mario.
Some
Oh
shade
yeah.
there.
Oh yeah.
So I found that funny too. And then if you look at the new mobile games, there's some Mario games that have been coming out on mobile versus Sonic, same thing. And then I also found this out. If any of y'all don't know this, Toys R Us has returned, but they're only at certain malls, and it's about the size of a store in the mall.
Right.
Here's the big difference, though. They will only, because it was a new person bought Toys R Us. He or she only allows what's already popular, what already sells a lot. For example, Paw Patrol, Nintendo, things like that. Everybody buys their own space, kind of like in the grocery store where you see one shelf with
Oh, I
Clorox
gotcha.
wipes,
Yeah, yeah.
and another part of that shelf has this or that. That's how it is.
Gotcha.
But here's the sad thing.
So they're basically just like they're kind of doing the Amazon thing where there's like third parties can come in, you're saying, but they get to borrow the brand recognition of Toys R Us.
Yeah. Well, basically, Toys R Us is only allowing the popular brands that sell big money to buy space, and that company buys that space. Like, for example, Paw Patrol. Nickelodeon Paw Patrol bought like one shelf for just Paw Patrol. Nothing else can go there. Nintendo has this huge corner with their TV and a big giant Mario statue. But here's the thing. Only first party games. Mario, Link, Pikachu. No Mega Man, no Sonic, nothing. They said you can buy it because they said you can buy it off their website, but it's going to redirect you to Target because Toys R Us has a contract with Target. So you can buy the games off of Target's website in store. But here's the other thing I noticed. The video game section is all red. It's on Nintendo. They kicked the Mario. I mean, they kicked the Sonic plushies out.
Right.
And it's in the toy section.
Oh
in
my
fact,
goodness.
there is no more Sonic plushies now. Every Target's different.
Yeah.
But the ones by me, it's all red. It's just Nintendo. So Nintendo is pushing Sega and Sonic out, basically.
Didn't that happen in the 90s though, where Nintendo was bullying the?
That did. We talked.
Tom
Kalinske talks about it in a couple areas. He's talked about it on our show previously about how both he and Al Nilsson actually both on the show separately, but they both talked about how aggressive in the 80s and 90s Nintendo was bullying.
Right, it was.
Hey, yeah, if you're gonna carry this TurboGrafx 16 thing, if you're gonna let Sega, right? I think he actually was it Al Nilsson or was it Tom that told us about. They were supposed to have some event in the store. Nintendo called the store and said,
it was Al.
If you have this in the store, we're pulling all of our products. And so the store, last minute, Sega arrives. They've got all this equipment. They've got all these games and stuff. And the store says you can't come in the store, right? And so they set up under a tent, and it's raining, and there's like water dripping on like their equipment and everything like that. And it was like they were pretty pissed off, but that was how Nintendo played back then.
Yeah.
So
they're playing again.
And they're doing it again because okay, I can respect Nintendo bought this big, and I mean it's not a tiny corner, it's a big giant corner. Think of the Nintendo store Mario statue. They have that big thing in there, a big TV.
Wow.
The only time you see Mega Man, Sonic games on that big screen is to to do the demo game.
Right.
But you're not going to find those games in the store.
Huh.
And this was right before Christmas. So it was almost all sold out of like all the, Mario Party, all the first party games. But they made it very clear that we do not allow Sonic or Mega Man. If you want that, you're going to have to go to Walmart or Target in person or wherever you get it. And I asked, well, with the Sonic movie coming up, are you guys going to have anything here? And they're like, we don't know, but probably not, because Sega is so down on the list that Sega basically has shot themselves, which is why Sega America should really clean up their attitudes, because if people are pushing you out of the stores, you're not going to be able to sell your stuff. And if Nintendo's taking over Target, that sucks because they don't have a contract with Walmart. Walmart is also starting to push push down their toys and eliminate what doesn't sell.
Oh wow.
And just put stuff on one shelf, because my mom works at Walmart. She works toy department, stationery, and seasonal. So she lets me know. And she told me the only Sonic thing she saw was the Monopoly game. And that's because it's a Monopoly game, a special edition Monopoly game. So of course it's going to be at Walmart, Target, all the stores.
Right.
But she said there's nothing of Sonic there, and there is Mario toys. There is one aisle full of just Mario toys. Next to it is Ninja Turtles. All the Mario toys.
Where's the Mario aisle? It's down. It's aisle 12, right after bread.
Yeah, and then I noticed at Target.
Wait, it has its own aisle? Like what? How the hell does this happen?
No, I mean like basically like a long aisle, and you know how they're divided, like one long aisle has like 3 or 4 aisles.
Yeah.
Like okay, one of them is just Nintendo.
Wow.
That's how much money Nintendo is spending to make sure you're buying Mario.
Well, the Switch is pretty popular right now, so I think Nintendo's doubling down on the popularity of the Switch, which brings me to a question for Jeremy. Go ahead, Jeremy. Yes. Give your thought, and then I have a question for you.
I'm happy to see a Switch doing well. Let me put that as a old school Nintendo fan, because Wii was popular, but Wii was popular for all the wrong reasons. Wii U kind of bombed, but I like to say I like the Switch. I'm happy.
I think Nintendo kind of learned a valuable lesson with the Wii. Like the Wii, first of all, the Wii, I don't believe was a bad console. It was a very innovative console, and it allowed us to kind of reimagine and rethink what video gaming could be, and what local couch co-op multiplayer, as it's usually called. It gave us couch co-op without having to be on the couch, right? Like, it got us up off the couch playing Wii Tennis and Wii Bowling and all that other stuff. I do agree with your statement, though, that I think it was popular for the wrong reasons. While Nintendo for a while totally sold out, could print money with it, etc., I think when they released the Wii U, I think their expectation was that whole entire community that they built, that whole entire base that they built, was going to follow them from generation to generation, and they weren't. They literally, it was a flash in the pan. They got into new households, and they got into new hands, but those hands were not hands that wanted to play games in the traditional way, and they were not the people that...
because of motion control, not because of the amazing games in the past.
Yeah, exactly. And largely, once those folks got their Disney Sing It CD, and once those folks got their Wii Sports and everything, they were pretty much good. They didn't need anything else. They didn't need better graphics. They just come for the gameplay and to get up off the couch. So now when the Wii U comes out, and the way that it was named, it wasn't clear if it was an upgrade. It wasn't clear if it was like something new, or if it was just like, oh, the Wii's still around. No, it's not the same Wii. It's the Wii U. Wait, the Wii, the Wii what? Wii who? Like, I mean, people like me.
Makes a good point.
And
they got it in its market that didn't come back.
No, 100%. And then they realized that. Yeah, and then they realized that, and they came out with the Switch. And if we notice, the Switch was kind of a. I'd mentioned way back on the show. This is over 2 years ago or 3 years ago, when the Switch first launched. I talked about how, in my mind, just from the initial experience, buying the Switch, having the controller problems in certain modes, and seeing how like the desktop experience, right, the docked experience was not good, honestly. Like it was laggy and glitchy, and the controllers didn't work right. And so I made a comment that I thought that Switch was symbolic, and that internally I strongly felt that Nintendo was trying to send a message and get it into our heads that we're changing over from portables and a console to a portable that is a console. So ultimately this will replace the 3DS. This will replace the Wii U and all that other stuff. And the other part of that messaging was the whole fact that they didn't ship with a virtual console. So you weren't going to be able to bring any of your old content over. Even stuff that should have and could have been backward compatible just wasn't, for no explanation. Why? Because they want to cut all ties with what they did previously. And I think what we're going to see is rapid iteration on the Switch based on what works and what's popular. 2-3 years later, that's exactly what happened. If you look at the Switch Lite, forget about detachable controllers with the motion, with being able to figure out if there's 3 marbles in the jar or 2. Like, nobody's talking about that at all. Barely anybody's using it. I think Vitamins is the only game in recent memory that's actually used, some of the motion sensing controls and stuff like that. So they're just ditching it. Man. Yeah, so I do like the Switch, but I think that they're starting to move away from it being any similarities that it even had to the Wii U now. And any doubling down on motion controls. I think Nintendo's over that phase, and they're going back more to traditional gaming only in handheld form, which I think is good because Sony and Microsoft aren't making a play in any meaningful way, in any way, much less a meaningful way. We don't have a Vita anymore or a PlayStation Portable. Like, Sony has no representation in the space. Microsoft has no representation in the space. So if Nintendo wants to remain a household name and be as aggressive as they were in the past, they have to be in a space that they can control. And mobile is really the only place that they can control, right? But people still want them to build a console. So I think it's brilliant that they built a mobile device that they could say, well, plug it into your TV and there you go, you got a console. We've been asking for that since friggin' Game Boy and Game Boy Advance, right?
Yeah, you're right. But it's just, I do agree that Nintendo's starting to really push the aggressiveness because they want only their stuff seen. Because,
They used to be like that though in the 90s. They were super aggressive.
Yep, they're going back to their old ways because now they dominate a space. Now they know they're the only mobile game in town, right? And they know that they've got...
I guess they got tired of Sony and Microsoft bowling them because they haven't.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, for example, they're buying spaces. Like for example, if a new toy store company shows up or a new toy store shows up, they make sure to buy spaces, but they want to make sure to say, no, you're only going to see Link, Pikachu, Mario, all this. Yep. This is all you're going to see. Like, I noticed at Target, because I was at Target earlier today getting some... Okay. I love baby food, but I only like banana flavored baby food. So I went over there to get some baby food. But I took a trip to the toy section.
Yeah.
And I noticed where the Sonic toys are, Mario's all around it, and they're slowly sticking the Mario toys behind some of the Sonic toys. And I have a problem with that because I'm going to respect your Nintendo that, yes, you have all the space, but...
Right.
You already took over the video game section.
Yeah.
You already have all of this around. The fact that you're pushing Sonic to the very corner, trying to push him out,
Bad Mario.
I have a problem with it because when
Stop
Toys R
bullying
Us was
Sonic.
bigger, because when Toys R Us was huge back in the day.
Yeah.
I remember Sonic would get like maybe one tiny little spot like that, and everything would be like shoving him into this corner.
Yeah.
And I have a problem with it because I go, okay, every toy should have a chance to survive, whether it does or it doesn't. Yep. But you can't hoard a whole entire section for just you. I mean, no. Nintendo, yeah, you're aggressive, but maybe Al and Tom should come back and they should hire me. Be like, okay, so this is Mrs. Hedgehog. She's gonna protect Sonic. She's gonna find a way. So
right,
we're gonna hire her to protect Sonic. But yeah, that's the problem I have with the video game stuff and it's not just Sonic. There's no Mega Man. There's nothing else. And then if you walk away from like where the Nintendo Switch, because like for example, Target.
Yeah.
If anyone's been to Target, you've got Nintendo Switch on 2 sides, and then you have one side their games.
Yeah.
Another side of their games. If you go on the other side, you will see like the Sega Mini. You will see like the little random handheld Sega, not Sega's like games, but like the random video games like they make like Pac-Man and all stuff. You'll see one tiny little thing full of like Dragon Ball Super plushies or random plushies, maybe a PlayStation box. But it's all being shoved into just one small tiny aisle, and they all have to share it together.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Nintendo's got 3 aisles.
Yeah, they got all their own.
They're also taking over the toy section, so
it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, but these other video game companies, they're gonna have to get together and say, hey, I mean, we're being shoved into a corner together. Sonic almost has no plushies, and they're announcing new plushies, but where are you going to put them if Nintendo's taking over everything? You're going to have to shove it to this one little corner that's being shared with anime and other stuff. And then
Right.
if you walk down the other aisle,
Well,
it's as far as I can see,
I
Funko
have an
Pops.
idea. I have an idea though, right? I
Yeah.
have an idea, and we're gonna switch to another topic. The I hear that the grocery stores now have completely empty toilet paper aisles. So we
Yeah.
could fill that entire aisle. We could make that the Sonic aisle, right?
Yeah, space start cleared out. Just start throwing Sonic up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people are gonna say, "Am I supposed to wipe my ass with this? Is this correct?" No.
That's why
I
I knew as soon as I brought that up. I'm like, oh wait, what am I implying that they wipe? Folks, I'm not implying wiping your ass with Sonic. I love Sonic. Don't do that. But Jeremy, go ahead. Give your idea, and then I have a question.
Let's talk about this next week. All about Nintendo and their game plan. Because my friend wants to get on the conversation. He wants to join us next week.
Sweet.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll commit to a show next week, and we can talk all about Nintendo and what they should do.
We could totally do that. So do you want to save for next week then? Because I've been meaning to ask you. I got a question burned to me. I want to ask you about the new Animal Crossing.
Oh,
yes, let's wait till next week.
Okay,
Yeah,
next week.
All Nintendo next week. Well, I'll bring my friend Austin on because he wants to talk about it.
Okay, next week we'll do. How about next week? Do we also want to do a small? Do we want to do a small hunting segment, or save that for a different show?
There's a difference when I got things less piled up right now.
Gotcha. Okay, so next week we'll do a show. It might be Tuesday-ish, may or may not be around the same time. We're still working out some glitches with the setup. We've been part of the reason that we haven't come back in so long has been partly life stuff going on, and it's been partly just with Google Hangouts being shut down, trying to figure out the mechanics of how to get us back together. Took a little bit, so I appreciate XSplit support for helping me out today. Getting us up and going. I appreciate being able to kind of have a reunion, Lizzie, with you and with Jeremy.
Yay.
So it's good to see you both.
Cover E3 real quick.
Yeah, let's close it out with E3. Yeah.
So unfortunately, due to the coronavirus, E3 has been canceled. They're not saying if they're going to cancel, well, like what Nintendo does with just show the games and no crowd. But as of now, you can go.
So let me ask this, because Lizzie's actually been to E3 a couple times, and I almost went to E3 a couple times, but I couldn't. I had logistical things get in the way. The Nintendo doesn't show up anymore. I think it was last year or the year before Sony didn't show up.
I think it was last year Sony, because it was last year because I was pissed.
So let me ask you this, like, with no Nintendo and no Sony, like, is E3 even still relevant anymore?
I want to say yes, it is, but it seems like everyone wants to do their own show.
It's gonna become more like indie stuff, because I remember when I went, I saw like a bunch of like I know IGN basically is the center there. It like takes over so much space.
Yeah.
That's my concern. Is it's gonna become kind of like a huge giant commercial of, hey, IGN's right here. Hey, this is over here. Sorry, there's no Nintendo. There's no Xbox. No Sony. There's no Altus or Sega. Sorry, it's just gonna be this stuff.
Right.
And it's kind of a double-edged sword.
Yep.
Because a lot of indie games, a lot of indie developers, it is their chance to shine too.
Yeah.
And you feel bad for them, and you don't want to crap on their games and say y'all suck because we're spoiled with Nintendo and Xbox and Sony. It's just it's tough because you expect them there.
Yeah.
You will more than likely visit the Nintendo booths, and you're more willing to go check out indie. In a way, you're kind of forced just to do indie. You go, this isn't what I came for. I didn't spend all the money to come here for this. It's gonna bother you. You're gonna be like you know, like a little kid, like, oh, mommy, they didn't have the purple one. I don't want the blue one.
Right.
You know, you're gonna be like that, and that's just human nature. You're like, well, if they're not here, I don't want to come, and you don't want to deal with booth babes, because I know the one time I went,
it's definitely different times. There was a time when people would go there when it was just horny men in gaming, and when the studios and stuff like that were making the. I'm just being honest, right? Like when I was a kid, it was, if you looked at GamePro, if you looked at Next Gen, you know, if you looked at Game Informer, all these magazines. really, like, I mean, they would have like, hey, look, here's an entire 1-2 pages of the magazine of like the Booth Babes. And so for me, it was always like, oh, cool, Duke Nukem was there, and there's some Booth Babes. Oh, Street Fighter was there, and there's some Booth Babes. So it was just like when they're just targeting horny men. I don't think that people only went there for the Booth Babes, right? But definitely, I think that it was a different time back then in terms of when you went to E3, it was less. I think it was less technical, and it was more like, hey, check out this cool. It's more like a celebration of creativity, right? Like, here's what's been created, here's what's coming up, here's what's in the process of being created, and things like that. And so I think really Booth Babes, there's two ways to think about it. You can think about it as gaming industry was exploiting women and all that other stuff, and maybe they were, maybe they weren't. But you could also look at that as kind of almost the birth of cosplay, right? Personally, and anybody that's watching the show, especially if you're a cosplayer, if the history of cosplay predates this in a meaningful way beyond like Renaissance festivals and stuff, feel free to chime in later on in the chat or whatever and let us know, and we could do a follow-up episode and stuff about that at some point. But when I think of cosplay, the earliest thing I can think of to predate really mainstream cosplay are Booth Babes at E3 and creativity and trying to bridge that. We're creating this fake world, Street Fighter and Sonic and Mario and all these different things, and then like, wow, no shit, they actually have somebody there dressed as Duke Nukem with like biceps the size of my head, right, and a giant cigar, and then 2 babes on each arm, just like the Duke Nukem in the game. That was the first time I actually saw people, or Lara Croft, right? They would always have, Crystal Dynamics would always have, somebody decked out as Lara Croft, just as she looked in the game, and that was always amazing. The companies generally didn't seem to care that they were duking it out, but I think what happened was when the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 launched, and they had that debacle of Microsoft completely screwed the pooch on their announcement, and the Sony people are sitting there literally rewriting their presentation there, and then they go off to deliver this presentation where they're just like, yeah, all that shit Microsoft said, we're going to do the opposite. Right. And everybody's like, yeah! Right? Yeah. I think that was the death knell for E3, because that's when people were like, you know what? Screw this. Like, if it's just a pissing match, and the person that goes first, I enjoyed
it. Just watching Microsoft bomb it like that, like what the hell did they just do?
Now, as somebody that's trying to decide which console generation am I going to early adopt, I'm with you, Jeremy. But I think if you're Microsoft or if you're Sony, right, like it's put them in this situation where like Nintendo's like, you know what, like we're going to go up against Nintendo's like, we're going to go up against Microsoft with the Xbox One X. We got nothing. Even Sony was like, yeah, we got nothing that can compete with that. Like, let's not even fucking bother until we can start talking PS5, right? So in a meaningful way. And so what's happening is all these people have taken their little balls and they've gone home. And now E3, like you said, it's not like there's not still creativity happening. It's not that there's not still celebrating it. It's that we've become used to creativity being consolidated within particular big brands like Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo. So now when those big brands leave and you just have the creators coming in, you don't have the same level of commitment, enthusiasm, familiarity with what it is that they're trying to pitch, and that makes it really hard to be excited, because if I'm going to stand in a line for 4 hours, it damn well be for something that I know I'm going to enjoy.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly. So, and I know, like, I love indie games because they're really cute, and there's some really awesome stuff out there for indie games, but like going back to the Booth Babes, these are characters that don't even look like part of like for example, if someone takes the time to get someone to cosplay Lara Croft, of course you're gonna be like, hey, awesome, it's worth it. But when it's a random Pucci Mama girl wearing a bikini,
right,
you're not gonna make me want
yet another game with a girl in a bikini.
Yeah, you're gonna be like, I don't want to play that indie game. I feel bad for the developer, but this doesn't draw my attention. And remember, I'm a girl, so you have to get my attention. And if you're waving big giant plastic titties in my face, I'm not gonna buy the game.
women are fastest growing market for the gaming industry right now.
Right. So what Lizzie's saying is spot on, right? Respect the market, right? Respect.
So Lizzie wants hot guys with six packs at the booth. That's what I'm getting.
There we go. Lizzie wants
like girls too, but the thing is, I want something that if you're gonna show me a booth babe, at least have her dressed up like the character from the game, from your game.
Right.
That way, it draws you in. It's adorable. It's cute. But if it's like
like the new Lara Croft, right? Like the new Lara Croft is actually a pretty strong role model, right? A pretty strong figure, and she's not. If you had somebody cosplaying the new Lara Croft, say at E3, she would not be breasts out, tons of cleavage, right? Daisy Dukes. She would be dressed like a normal person would dress for a trek, in the Himalayas. So
and you know that would be super cute. And then it draws you and say, hey, take a picture, and then you're gonna hang out and check out what's around you. See, it's all about advertising. Like for example, there was a toy store here that asked me to go there. Paramount, the lady who was Paramount told me to go. Said, "Can you wear your Sonic kimono costume? With the blue wig." And the ears
fun!
And
We've
everything.
seen that. In fact, sometime it doesn't have to be now. It doesn't have to be on the show. Maybe sometime drop that in the Discord and share. In fact, we could set up like a little cosplay channel in the Discord if you want to share some of the cosplays you've done in the past. If you're comfortable with that, you don't have to.
Oh yeah, it's cool. And
it's really cool, guys. She's very talented.
Yes, and the people who went got like like things like this. This is basically that foamy stuff. Let me see something else that's near me. The paddle. I kind of have it wrapped up. But
from the movie when he's
yeah. So they were giving away all that stuff, and they were giving away passes to see the movie a week early.
Yeah.
And they did that, and it drew people in, and people thought I looked cute. They took pictures with me. And they took the items, but that's what you want. You want something that's going to get your attention, because you're more likely going to hang out and look around.
Yeah.
If you've never seen the movie or never heard of Sonic, I don't know where you've been, but
you want it to be friendly. You want it to be inviting. You want it to be fun. And I think E3 somehow, some way, I think E3. They somehow are missing on the celebration of creativity, and they're forgetting how to be fun. I think it's just I think you went there and you were like
aggressive.
It was literally run from line to line trying to get as much swag as you can get. Because there's not really much to actually do. It's not like there's so many people. It's not like you can sit there and actually talk to the person dressed up as Duke Nukem anymore. Even if they're there, you can't talk to the person that's, at the booth for the game. It's just like, hey, wait till the next presentation at 6:00 and get in line, right? So
and you won't even get a chance to talk to those people. And that's the thing; it's become more aggressive. They're like depending too much on shoving in your face, saying you better buy this, or hey, you have to get this. You go, no, because I remember when I went to E3 one year. I went to this one area that had nothing but booth babes, big giant thingies, and they really talked to me in a way where they're like, "Hi, sweetie," and they're like, "Hey, come over here," and but they're very pushy.
Right.
And you're kind of like, no, I mean, you're kind of like, I don't even have this, and they go, "Oh, well, that's okay. You can download one, or you can come over here and buy it." You're like, no. I mean, very aggressive, pushy, kind of like salespeople at.
Well, that's what it is, right? They're definitely trying to sell, they're definitely trying to push their wares, right? And they're trying to sell their product, and to a certain extent, E3 has always been that, and it's okay. Like you go to E3 and that's what's going to be there, but at the same time, you're expecting to see something kind of exciting. You're expecting to see something kind of new, but from familiar names, like, oh, hey, here's this studio, right? Like, but you're not really seeing, generally speaking, it used to be you go to E3 and maybe you can play the Final Fantasy VII demo at E3 first at E3, right? We're not in that world anymore, right? Like Final Fantasy VII demo has been available on the PlayStation 4 now for the last month. So even if it does show it in E3, it's not like they're unveiling it there. It's not like they saved it and kept it specifically for that moment, which is what E3 used to be. It used to be like, dude, I was at E3 and I got to play, a Duke Nukem Forever. I was at, E3. And then in some cases, like they were releasing stuff so early in E3 that like, the game that actually released, they're like, it's totally different as it turns out than the game that got shown off at E3.
But he was like, "Oh, release in 4 years." It's like, okay, so we're just in alpha at most.
But that was still cool, right? To be that close to the bleeding edge and be able like to have that murmur and to have that hype of like, no, dude, it's real. I was there. I actually played a demo at E3. It was amazing. Now that doesn't really happen anymore. Now it's like, you're right. It's like, oh, hey, come here and maybe get this little card that reminds you to go home and download our demo on the PS4 if you haven't already. And you're like,
hey, type this in and get this.
Why am I coming to E3 to get reruns of advertisements for upcoming games?
Yeah, and that always was aggravating. And I do know a lot of people went there just for the swag because you find it on eBay the next day.
Yeah.
And
so
they tripled the price, even though it was free.
Maybe this is a blessing. I mean, part of me hopes that this isn't the end of E3 forever, but part of me thinks...
That's my favorite time of year. I don't care about Comic-Con.
Well, you're right there, right? E3 is like, what, 20 minutes from your house? Seriously?
But yeah, it's 20 miles. Yeah, it's 20 miles to go up to the LA Convention Center.
Yeah, so
like, I can make a day out and just go up there.
Absolutely. And so I do hope that E3 comes back, but I mean that in a couple of ways. I hope that it comes back. I hope this E3 is not gone forever, but I hope that when it comes back, I hope it comes back in some way that's closer to what we remember. I hope
not a shell of its old self, and it's just pointless.
Yeah, I hope that E3 gets a retro reload.
Oh, and related, the biggest event that we have here in Texas is also canceled. South by Southwest.
South by Southwest got canceled. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because it's a week, and there was supposed to be a Sonic panel there where they were gonna talk about, because it's Sonic's 30th anniversary.
Damn,
so they were gonna talk about
I know,
Sonic,
right?
because it's canceled. You're kind of like, dang it. And you feel bad for all the music people, everything.
There's a lot of bands, right? There's a lot of bands like chiptune bands and stuff like that. A lot of gigs that got canceled. So, do you want me to wrap up the show, folks? We've kind of been going a while.
It's been 2 hours now.
Okay,
so I didn't even notice.
Yeah, time flies when you're reminiscing about good times, right? So, folks, I want to give you guys a reminder because we've deliberately kind of steered relatively clear of topics like coronavirus and what's currently going on and everything, because we think you're probably getting enough of that from other sources. So I'm not going to get into any of those specifics other than to say a lot of us are at home. We got our games, we got our movies, but just be careful not to make quarantine, right? Or not to make, shelter at home or shelter in place, whatever they might be calling it in your area, self-isolation. Try not to make that be total isolation, right?
Yeah. Don't do it. Because, like, for example,
so multiplayer gaming is amazing now, right? So people can play games you can join, share your friend codes for Nintendo Switch and other platforms, right? Do multiplayer with your friends. Get yourself a headset off of Amazon or something, or Best Buy, and do voice chat and stuff like that when you're have it delivered and wipe the box when it arrives. But just remember that we've got Skype, we've got all kinds of different tools and stuff that we can use to keep in touch with our friends and our family, and let's use this as an opportunity to do so, and try to have some fun, because there's going to be tons of information out there over the next days, weeks, possibly months, and the best way for us to make it through this is together, which is hard to do when we're holed up in our house. So let's use technology to kind of keep it together and have good times and remind ourselves of better times and times that we can look forward to again, because this is just a season. It will pass.
It will.
So I'm looking forward to the Series X, whether it comes out this holiday or next year. I'm looking forward to the PlayStation 5. I'm looking forward to the continuation of some franchises like Sonic the Hedgehog, Mario Brothers. I didn't mean, Callus, to talk smack about Super Mario World. I know that you think it's great, so I apologize. I think it's an okay game. It just didn't ring my bell the way that Super Mario 3 did, is all. So, next week, Nintendo, right? All topics Nintendo, and I think we're going to be talking Animal Crossing and a couple other things.
I gotta get that game.
So, Jeremy, great to see you.
Yeah, I'll be on next week. I got till about May to do shows, then I got to go back to school stuff.
Excellent. So, Miss Lizzie, thank you so much for showing up. You're looking lovely.
Yes, thank you.
So
I have to go to bed soon anyway, because I work at FedEx, and they just told us we're going to open our stores at 9 a.m. instead of 7:30 a.m.
Oh, wow.
and they just gave us a bunch of new rules. We gotta wear gloves, all that nonsense.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, go home, be happy, play with my Sonic plushies. Also, I recommend folks, if you're able to, get stuff and eat stuff that makes you happy, like candy, chips, chips and dip, fun foods or comfort foods, do that also, when you're playing video games, have your favorite bag of chips and eat some chips, drink a Coca-Cola, distract yourself. There you go.
Coffee.
All right. And folks, anybody that's been watching the streams prior to this, we will try to have another stream. I believe it'll be on Tuesday. We might do a different day. We might do a different time. I will let you know. But don't think that means that there won't be other streams in between. So every now and then I'm still docking the Switch and playing Asphalt 9 Legends. So always happy to kind of have you guys in the chat and appreciate what you're bringing. We're gonna work El Popocho to make sure that I have the chat working properly in the lower right hand corner for next time, because I always like when we can all see the chat simultaneously.
Thank you.
So in the meantime, folks, stay safe, listen to your local announcements and leadership, and use this as a time to sync up with your friends and family and have some fun.
Mm-hmm.
Take care, YouTube.
Bye.